Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to UFRL Tier 3 Racing around the Silverstone Grand Prix. It has been a while. We've obviously had our Christmas break, and we are now back for racing with, might I add, going from a normal 10 driver grid in Tier 3 to 18 drivers. As you can see, we have a lot of drivers in today, and this could get hectic, ladies and gentlemen. So, in the Mercedes, we have, it seems, Mr. P, but we do not have the Mr. P. It is the Mrs. P, finally back racing in her own league. It is very interesting to see. Priv Widget in the Alpine, who's obviously a normal contender here. Pops Kong, who has been recently signed by the Williams team. Then we have Willie Fernandez also backing up the Mercedes to try and get them back ahead in the Constructors. Doug, who has returned to main week racing, was normally racing in the intermediate tier, is now in the McLaren racing in tier 3. James Killer in the Ferrari now, and Ziggy, who is also back in the Haas, trying to get them up there, as the Haas have been showing a great run of form recently. Warrener, obviously in that Kick Sauber, is still racing with us, along with DD Friend. And we have Bakey Gaming, who's been racing with us before the Christmas break. Just a couple of races is in this Red Bull, trying his best to get somewhere within these races, but he has a lot more contenders to go with. Cinders as well, who is normally a pace setter, my apologies, is in the Ferrari. Then we have Wilco, who has joined us recently in the Aston Martin. Shazam in the RB, managed to get in at the last minute as he had troubles with his F1 game. Cowley is the other Williams driver, backing up the Williams back in the racing, and is trying to get Williams into that P6 Constructors. That's where he is trying to get with the team. Good result would be good for him today. Ivy, who is new to the league, I believe, in the McLaren, and is participating in his debut race, and Doug has left the session. That is already in the mud for him. 50 Jet in the RB, obviously backing up his teammate, hopefully getting a good result for them today. Iceman, who's a normal back runner, although he might be thinking about, qualifying today with how many drivers he's going to have to try and overtake, especially some of these who are pace setters. And Jack in the Haas is bringing up the back for the Haas team, and Doug is already back in the session. So we will go on board with Jack, as he looks like he is the first driver who is going to be setting the lap times for around this British Grand Prix. And here he goes, setting off in the Haas now. He's got a nice Alpine and a Williams behind him though, so he has to be careful there to make sure not to give them too much of a slipstream, as they are all starting their laps now. Through then the first few corners into the first straight, going into the first DRS zone on this sector, just trying his best to get the power on, making sure that he takes it nicely through that corner, nice and smoothly, and then into this left-right hairpin now around these corners, where famously, was it Oscar Piastri overtook George Russell here back in the season just gone. Then here we go through Cop's corner. Is he going to be able to take it flat out? I haven't got the telemetry up, but it looks like he takes it nice, not making sure not to go too far over the edge as not to invalidate. And then here we go through Maggot and Beckett now, getting through these corners, making sure not to slide too far, because it's easy to just overpower too much and go through them corners and invalidate. He is currently setting the purple times, but he has got a couple of drivers behind him who are normally pace setters, so he's going to have to worry about that. Then going into the final sector now, going into this last chicane, where famously, obviously, Lewis Hamilton overtook Sergio Perez and Charles Leclerc, who were battling. And then through he goes. What is the time going to be? 1:27.5. That is the setting time. Then we have Priv Widget coming across the line though. He gets a 1:28.5. Unfortunately, that does not work out for him. And the Williams and Cowley gets a 1:28.8. 3/10 behind Priv Widget. They're going to have to bring up their pace a little bit if they want to get near Jack. So we will go on board next. Who is the next close driver? Looks like Williams is setting the first fastest purple sector, and he's not that far behind Cinders, so he might be picking up a slipstream there as Warrener gets a 128.7. I had just missed that. But there is a Mercedes up ahead of Mrs. P, although she is on an outlap, so she's not currently setting a time. So it is going to be Cinders who will be the next one, going through Maggins and Beckett's now. Going to see if he can beat that time, but he didn't get a purple second sector, so he might not be as close as he wants to those ahead. But it looks like Willie Fernandez has just dropped off the back there of him a little bit. I think he was a lot closer than that, so he might have just backed off to go for another lap. But Cinders, the Ferrari, is going to be finishing this one. Rides that curve very nicely into the final corner, almost invalidates, but gets up to 128.5, just ahead of Priv Widget. Then we go to Willie Fernandez, who is finishing the lap, but he might be going again, as it's a 132.9, and that is definitely not what he wants right now. Pops Kong is going through the last couple of corners now up to the line, and he is getting a 131.5, so those two are most likely going to be going again. Then we go back to the Haas of Ziggy. Actually no, Jack is starting another lap, so it's actually going to be the Alpine of Priv Widget. They're both going again. So they are both starting their laps again. Doug is going to... No, it's not Doug. It's Ivy setting his lap time now, who's just started his lap. And then, oh my god, there's so many drives to try and keep track of. Warrener looks like he's going to be... Which, actually, I just noticed the Kick Sauber team principal is not here today. I thought he was going to be showing up. He always normally shows up, but he might be just a bit busy today. Doug is going to be starting his lap now. James Killer looks like he is going to be the next driver, but he is on mediums, which actually I should have set the tyres there. Why did I not do that? He is on the mediums, and he is not setting a representative time there. But we have an Aston Martin of Wilco who's starting his lap now. The Mercedes of Mrs. P is finishing her lap. It's a 130.1 for her. Then we have the RB of my apologies, Bicky Gaming in the Red Bull. He's just finished his lap and he gets up there to P4. Then Didi Friend is starting his lap now. The Mercedes of Willie Fernandez is down on his time again, but he might have just lost it on this last little bit, but it looks like he is way far down. He was setting a purple first sector last lap, and he is still down on... Well, he improved, but he's just behind Mrs. P with a 131.1. Then we have Pops Kong, who is finishing his lap. He improves from 130.2. Then we have Jack coming across the line again. He goes faster, 127.3. And then we have Doug in the McLaren. No, sorry, that's not Doug. That is Ivy finishing his lap now. Let's see what representative time he can get going across the line now. It looks like it's going to be a decent lap time. P6 for the McLaren's debut. That is a good result from him. Then we go on board with, who is that finishing a lap? I unfortunately can't see as we go on board. Warrener actually sets the fastest time. I just missed that. 127.3. Then we will go on board with Doug, who is actually finishing his lap now. Going across the line, what's going to be? It looks like it's not going to be as a representative time as he wants. Unfortunately, it is not. He's only in P11. James Killer improves to P10. Then we have the Aston Martin of Wilco. Goes up P10. Then we go to the RBs, or we have Didi Fred actually coming across the line in his next lap, seeing what time he can get, but he goes across the line a little bit, but he doesn't invalidate, but that might have lost a little bit of time. Up to P7 goes Didi Fred, and that is not what he wants. I think he's wanting to be up there a bit more, so unfortunately, William is into the pits. Unfortunately, Didi Fred is going to have to find a bit more time within his laps. Then Pops Kong is into pits. Looks like it's going to be Jack into the pits as well. Yes, he is. There he goes. He's just behind the Williams as they take their time going into the pits. Then we have Ivy, who is he still on a lap potentially? I don't think with how close it is he's still on a lap, but he is going to finish it, so he actually is on a lap, but it looks like he's a little bit behind on his time than he wanted, so he might be going again. This might be just his out lap, as I think, yes, that he's most likely going to be starting again, as Cowley is now into the pit, the Williams. We will go on board with Doug, who is he on a lap right now? No, he has invalidated, so it's actually going to be Ziggy who is on a lap. Warrener is behind him, and then we have the RBs of Shazam and 50 Gent. 50 Gent is the one on lap right now, so we'll stay on board with him for the rest of his lap. the RB going through the final couple of corners then, but it doesn't. He looks like he's just down on battery, which actually I should probably get the telemetry up. No, he is on hot lap. He is on hot lap, so he is going to be finishing lap, getting through these final corners now. Up to the line, what's it going to be for him? Is P9 with a 129.3. Are any other drivers currently on laps? No, it looks like they're on the pits, except for DD Friend, who is going to be going again. But then we have one of the Ferraris. Cinders is the one on an out lap, so we'll actually go on board with one of the McLarens, which one is on their lap right now? Ivy is improving just by 200ths of a second on this lap, but he is going for it, so you send it through the second sector now, and he is improving by 2.5 tenths. That is a decent time that he could be showing, but it looks like Jack and Warren are the ones that set the pace, because they are 1.2 seconds ahead of the rest of the drivers. This is only halfway through this qualifying session. We still got another half to go. Everything could change going into the final few minutes of qualifying, and then we obviously go into the race. There we go then. Ivy goes across the line, 128.4, goes P3, but he is still a long way off of Jack and Warrener, who are currently setting the time. We go down to then Doug, who is on his lap right now, and he is improving, finally getting that time that he wants, and is getting through this lap, going through the final now chicane, and up to line. What's it going to be? Back on the Tier 3 main racing. Is it going to be a good time for Doug? Back on his debut, it is up to P13, 130.7. That is not what you want to be seeing. I think he wants to be going faster than that. Ziggy goes to 130.9, back on his debut as well. Currently setting sometimes they need to be improving on if they want to get closer to their teammates who are currently in the top 3. As we then go back on board, who is currently on a lap? Looks like Willie Fernandez is currently out on a lap. These two have just set lap time, so it looks like it's going to be Cinders or Ivy. Ivy has set his lap, and Cinders has had a spin, and that has brought the end to his qualifying lap, which he was improving by 4 tenths. That would have got him to P3, but unfortunately bottles it and is now into the pits to change his tyres. Is anybody else? It looks like Priv Widget. It's going to be starting a lap soon, but it looks like Willie Fernandez was the first one to start a lap, so we'll actually look on board with him. Looks like he could be improving on this lap. Going through then the first DRS zone, opening up DRS as early as possible and getting the power down, using some ERS as well to help him out, and he does improve already through the first sector. The Mercedes is going to be showing some pace, as he's normally a pretty good bet in for the front runners, as he has got pole positions before. Can he bring it again though around Silverstone? Is he going to be able to do it? Then through Cops Corner he goes, trying to take it as flat out as possible, and he does take it flat out, it looks like, and gets through it. Then into Maggots and Beckus he goes, trying his best to go smoothly through here. Stays in 7th gear, down to 5th, and then putting the power down with the ARS. Going into the 3rd sector, he's 2.3 seconds up. That is improving. Purple 2nd sector. Could this be a potential pole position from him? Iceman also, I just noted, is still in the pits. It looks like he's still going to be continuing tradition of starting at the back and trying to make his way through. That it's not working though, and if he wants to stay the championship leader or get back in the championship leader, it's not going to work like that. William up to the line though. What's it going to be for him? It is up to P3, 127.9. That's what he wants to be seeing. 6 tenths behind the P2 and P1 though, but that is what the the Mercedes driver is wanting to see here. Warrener is on an out lap. Who's going to be the next driver who is doing their lap? Looks like Priv Widget is backed off and is going to be starting another lap very, very soon. Cowley also looks like he's going to just back off and start his lap again. We'll look on board with who is going to be the next driver. There are so many drivers trying to keep track of. Shazam has unfortunately validated, but he's going to be finishing this lap just to see what time he could get. So we'll just stay on board to see what time it would have been, and it's a 129.3. That would have put him up to P10. So unfortunately he's going to have to save some ERS and go again, as the harsh driver of Jack is also starting his lap, but we'll go on board with Warrener, as I think he is the next driver who is going to be going through and finishing his lap. Actually, no, it's going to be Wilco. Wilco's the one. Actually, no, he is saving up his battery. So is there any Mercedes? Is William going again? No, he is not. So it is going to be Warner, the next one over the line. Kick Sauber looking to improve. It's not improving through these couple of sectors now, but he's trying to send it as much as possible. He's currently on medium, but now goes up into overtake, going to the third sector. He's 2.5 tenths down, so I think he's going to be saving battery potentially for another lap, and that's going to be not improving on his lap. Yep, he goes into the pits. There he goes. So who is going to be the next driver? Is it one of the Williams drivers? Is Cowley, and he goes through the final couple of corners. I couldn't see if he was improving or not, but it looks like he could be improving as long as he gets through these corners smoothly. He gets onto the curb. Deploy is all used. He's trying to use everything, and he does improve to P4. The Williams driver is up there now. Priv Widget, what is he going to get? He is not improving. He is just starting a new lap now. DD Friend is also starting a lap now. Who's going to be the next driver? It looks like it's going to be Jack who's going to be trying to improve next. He is improving by 2 tenths going into this next lap that he is on. Then what is it going to be? Is it going to be the improvement 2 tenths using the overtake all the way up to the line? And he does not. He loses it in the last couple of corners. And unfortunately, that is going to remain P2. He's going to have to try and get back around as quick as possible to be able to finish this qualifying. James Killer then is starting his lap now. He does improve on that lap, goes up P11, and actually saves his ERS as he wants to be going again. Ivy is on that lap, so is Doug. The two McLarens are on that lap, so we will look on board with DD Friend. Priv Widget is the one on the lap right now. Cop's Corner, there he goes, up in an overtake. He's trying to abuse all this ERS to get back up into those top spots that everybody else is in usually. We're coming to the end of qualifying now, and the Alpine is trying his best. Overtake, there we go, trying to use as much deployment as can. Literally on the verge of running out of ZRS usage as he goes through these final couple of corners now. Is it going to be improvement for the Alpine, or is he going to stay somewhere in the top 7? Still a good qualifying result, especially with how many drivers are in, but he's used all of his deployment trying to get as much pace, and he goes up to P3, is the fourth driver to crack into the 127s and manages to just beat out William there on lap. Cowley is then into the pits, does not improve on this lap. The Alpine of DD Friend trying to get through his teammate, but unfortunately I think he's backed off as he's not been able to improve this time. Then we have Jack, who is going to be on another lap as he is invalidated, so we'll go on board with Doug, who I believe is starting his lap now. Yes, he is. So then we have the Ferrari of James Killer, goes into the pits. Then there's the RB of, who is it? It's not 50 Gent, it is the other one, Shazam, starting his lap. There's a Mercedes behind of William, who is also on our lap. Looks like most drivers are going to be starting their laps now, so we will look on board who is on a lap right now. It looks like it is Wilco, who is improving 2.5 tenths. He's almost out of fuel. This could be his last lap of qualifying, and it looks like it. A bunch of drivers are getting out now as we only have a minute left, 50 seconds left, and he improves to P12. Good shun from Aston Martin on his debut. I believe that is all he's going to be able to get out of that. And we have Ziggy Singleton starting his lap now. We'll go on board with the McLaren of Ivy, who looks like he's finishing his lap. Yes, he is. He's improving by 2 tenths. Could he get up to P5? Could he improve by a lot more through this last sector? He gets up to P5 and finishes. That is going to probably be his finish position, provided that nobody else finishes their laps. Then we have a look on board who is on a lap right now. Is it a Red Bull? No, the RB of Shazam is starting his lap right now. So go on board with the Alpine of DD Friend, who has invalidated, unfortunately, and this is going to be his last run. But then he has Jack behind to worry about, who is not improving, and unfortunately they haven't made the line, and that is going to be end of their qualifying. Jack has missed out on pole position, and unfortunately DD Friend has just missed out, and people behind could be improving. 50 Gent is the one in the pit, so we'll go on board with, is it Shazam? No, it's actually, my apologies, it's the Red Bull of Baker Gaming. Baker Gaming is improving, using overtake up to the line. What's it going to be? Has a little slide, but it proves is in P8. Then the Mercedes behind, was it Mrs. P? No, it was William. He did not, he does improve, but just misses out to the top 3. Mrs. P gets up to P9, and that is a good showing from her. Wilco is into the pit, so we'll have a look at Warner. Warner. Warner is improving just the slightest bit, and that is an improvement. 127 flat. Could have broke the 126s. Would have been the only driver to do so, but does not. But he still secures pole position. Currently, Ziggy Singleton. Then what is it going to be on his debut back? P15 and Doug in P16. Not the showings they want to be showing. Sorry, not the. I'm pretty sure that's not where they want to be for their final runs. Ivy's into the pit, and it looks like the majority of other drivers have finished their laps or are into the pit. The only one who hasn't is Shazam, but he is finishing his lap now. What's it going to be from him? Improves to P8. That is a good final lap from the RB, and that was one hell of a qualifying to commentate over Tier 3. Well done, and welcome back all our drivers. So then, we have Ivy is into the pit, so most likely it will stop. But on pole position is your is Warner, the Kick Sauber, the only person, one of the only people. There's only the Red Bull and the Kick Sauber who don't have teammates in this race, but he is doing well for his team right now. He needs to do as best as possible to secure Kick Sauber the points, and he is showing why he is one of their best drivers in that team. Then we have Jack in P2, unfortunately missing out on pole position. William in P3, good showing for the Mercedes, trying to gain some more points. Priv Widget in the Alpine P4, one of the front runners as always. Cinders in P5s. Then we have Ivy Dibchon in P6, a good showing from him. Cowley backing up the Williams in P7. Shazam in P8, Baker Gim in P9, Mrs. P in P10, Didi Friend in P11, Fifth Gen P12, James Kill in P13, Wilco 14, Pops 15, Ziggy 16, Doug 17, and Iceman 18 always finishing at the back. We now have a 5-minute break, Tier 3, and we will be back racing around the Silverstone Grand Prix, and I hope to see some good racing. Let's see quickly. Is it raining? It looks like it was pretty sunny, so I doubt it's going to be raining today. Oh my god! It is full wet conditions around the Silverstone Grand Prix. This is about to be such an interesting race, Tier 3. Oh my god, I'm about to have the best time commentating this. My apologies for the less professional language there, but this is going to be so interesting. 5-minute break, Tier 3, and we will be back. And we are back, and we are about to get started in this tier 3 racing. Looks like it's going to be a fun one today, so we should be readying up any single second now. It looks like it is getting a bit lighter over in the background, but now we are starting this race. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights, and away we go. It's a slow start for a Haas in the background. The McLaren of Doug hasn't even got off the line, it looks like. Warner gets a good start ahead. William Fernandez, though, tries to go around the outside, turns to the inside, and does get the move. Or does he? He actually has to back out there. I think he's just losing a bit too much grip. Unfortunately, the Haas managed to get past him. There is a bit of a tumble in the background. What is happening there? James Killer is dropping down position. So are other drivers. Cowley has also dropped down position. Others are going up. Priv Widget has just managed to get past the Mercedes of Willie Fernandez. They are dropping though behind from Warner and Jack, who are both on the back of each other. These two are showing some good pace already in the rain. Willie Fernandez right on the back of the Alpine, trying to get any look around the outside, but does not get it. The RB actually is looking to the inside and gets the traction off the corner. Shazam has made up so many positions already and is up into P4. Oh my god, I do apologise. Right, we'll have a look then. Not at telemetries. We want to look at the track data. We want to look at position changes so far going into the second lap, and the two are already pulling away so much from these battling drivers behind. We'll go back behind us. There's a battle between the Red Bull. The McCowley is trying to defend currently from Mrs. P, and there's a half spin in the background from James Killer, almost losing it. The Alpine of DD Friend then tries to look around the inside, but does not get the traction down to do that. There is so much rain here that it's just terrible particles on my screen. We will look at, looks like Shazam is trying to chase after the Alpine of Privilege right now. The RB is showing some tremendous pace in the wet. Can he hold it out for the rest of the race? But there's your two leaders currently leading going into the second lap, and there are some more position changes back. Cinders is into the pit, so he has went up positions, but he's obviously going to be losing. And Bakey Gaming goes off wide. It looks like he just couldn't get the turn that he wanted, and unfortunately Cowley is trying to go around the outside of DD Friend. I think DD Friend was trying to look at the inside actually, but Cowley manages to keep it out as the Mercedes of Mrs. P unfortunately going a bit slow there, catches Cowley off guard, and now Cowley is under pressure from DD Friend. He does manage to defend the inside, but does he get the traction going out of here, trying to get up to the Mercedes? He does not. Ivy then is going up the inside of Willie Fernandez. Willie Fernandez is the one dropping back right now, but unfortunately Ivy does not manage to make it stick. It's just having a little bit of a slide through this wet and does not make it stick. Buddy goes up the inside of the Mercedes, trying to get his best. Go up the inside, going into Cobbs. Let's not try and have a loose Hamilton and Max Verstappen though, but he manages to get clean ahead. But then the RB of 50 Jed goes up the inside. They keep it clean. They keep it clean throughout, and he manages to get past the Mercedes, and he is up to P6. Willie Fernandez is just dropping back too many positions right now than he needs to be. He needs to be getting up there, and he's unfortunately dropping back. Wilco, the Aston Martin, is having a good debut right now, up 6 positions. 50 Gent is up 6 positions as well, but there is a move for podium at the front as Priv Widget has lost out with Shazam, and Shazam holds it around the outside. That is an amazing move to see as he goes into P3. Can he start chasing after the two in front now? That is something that we will have to keep an eye on as Warren gets the fastest lap of the race again. Mrs. P is on the back of Bakey Gaming. Unfortunately, she has been passed, but she is still holding P10. Cowley is the one who is down positions, and unfortunately, Cinders is also down positions, down 13 positions. He must have got front wing damage at some point in the first lap. And who is having a half spin there? It looks like it was Cowley. No, it wasn't. It was DD Friend who was not getting the traction down in that Alpine, and Ziggy has made a move on Iceman and is trying to get up position now, up a couple of positions. Doug's up 1 position. Pops Kong is unfortunately down in P17 and is going to be chasing after the rest of the pack. So we'll go back up to the top of 50 Gent, who is currently close on the back of the McLaren. Is he going to try and get past? It looks like it might be a 0 stop for some of these people, unless the rain gets lighter now. Everybody has started settling into this race. A few gaps have developed, especially at the front here. Priv Widget gets a 3 seconds for track warnings, and that is not something you want 3 laps into a 26 lap race. He needs to just calm it down a little bit, stop chasing after the top 3, and just settle into the race that he needs to settle into. Shazam trying to make inroads on Jack, is not making as many inroads as he can, as Iceman goes for the move back there on Ziggy Singleton, but Ziggy Singleton fights back, it looks like, and manages to keep the position. This is still anyone's race though. The rain is unpredictable, can make anything happen at any time, so it is just something to keep an eye on. As there's a couple of moves being made back there, I can see, is Cowley going for the move on Wilco? He is trying to go around the outside into this last few corners, sticks it around the outside, gets the grip and manages to find it, and then Wilco is now being under pressure by the Alpine, goes defensive into the last couple of corners and manages to keep the position, but Cowley has managed to make the move, and he's going to try and start chasing after those ahead now, and chase after them and trying to get up as he sets a purple third sector, so he is starting to show some pace again. That is good for the Williams team. 50 Gent then is still trying to make this move on Ivy, but he's too far back right now and cannot make the move. DD Friend then will go on board with him as he's only 2.5 tenths, but has a little slip again. The dry line needs to start coming in, as DD Friend is just not finding the grip that he wants. As a yellow flag, as there's a Haas at the back who has had an unfortunate spin, has tried to get going again and has, so no safety car yet, but now Pops Kong is right on the back of the heart of Ziggy Singleton and is going to be trying to put him under pressure now. Mrs. P is hanging on to the Red Bull. This is a good showing, I would say, for the Mrs. P, who hasn't raced in a while. Must have been doing some practice outside, and is on the back of the Red Bull trying to make something happen, is chasing after him. It looks like the rain might be getting lighter now, and potentially can people already start be thinking about the intermediate tyres? That would be an interesting call to make this early in this race, but someone might make it, and it might be winning. Who is willing to gamble as big game and just goes a little bit offline there? Unfortunately, that means that he's going to be a little bit under pressure from the Mercedes, but unfortunately the Mercedes does not look like she has the most straight line speed in the world. Cowley was having a little look there, but does not make the move, as look, she gains so much through the corners. Biggie is just having to slide as Jack is starting to pick up his pace again, and he is wanting to now chase after, as braking a little bit late there. Unfortunately, I think she just had a little slip because of how wet it is. Unfortunately, catches the back of Bakey Gaming, has a little bit of a slide there. Does she have front wing damage? I can't see any because of how far away we are. It does not look like it. I did see some carbon fibre, but I don't think it was from Mrs. P's car, so she is still going in this race. She's just got to calm it down a little bit. She gets right on the back of him though. This big gaming looks like he's just taking it nice and calm as best as he can, but Cowley here is getting a little bit impatient. I think he's going to try and potentially go for a move, as he's still 3.5 tenths. He's got that slipstream to try and catch, but the Mercedes looks like she's just getting better traction off those couple of corners and is trying to chase after her teammate, who her teammate right now is currently in no man's land, no slipstream in front of him, but he has no pressure behind, as Pops Kong has unfortunately fell backwards behind Cinders now, and he's just not getting it in the where it looks like he is not enjoying his time. The Williams driver needs to start hoping for some dryness within this race, then he might start picking up his pace again. D. Fred is back on the back of Wilco, but he's still not finding the pace to be able to get ahead of him, and is unfortunately not making any inroads to make a pass for him. 50 Gent up ahead is starting to catch Ivy in front, and is trying to make inroads to get past the McLaren debutant. The P5 for the debut is an very good result so far. The McLarens are going to be happy that they signed him, and currently some drivers look like they're trying to have a little bit of a tease of the pits with how dry it may be getting, but unfortunately there is nothing going. And look how slidey those 3 cars were there going through the final corner. The grip is just so hard to find around this track, that the drivers just can't find it anywhere. But the dry line has formed now, so hopefully their tyres have set in. Where else are there moves potentially going on? Iceman having a look on the Ferrari, is right on the back of him. Could he go for a move? No, he's just having a little bit too slidey through there, and unfortunately that is mean he's dropped a little bit back behind James Killer and cannot go for a move there. But it looks like Mrs. P is right on the back of Bakey Gaming, who Willie Fernandez has also had a mistake. And now the Red Bull goes past the Mercedes and gets up to P7. And now Willie Fernandez is losing our positions and is now actually under pressure from his teammate, Mrs. P. And now Willie Fernandez is trying to make positions back, but now Cowley goes up the inside, has said I had enough waiting behind, and is going up the inside. The Mercedes on Mrs. P is close going into Cop's corner. Mrs. P is unfortunately boxed in a little bit and has to literally back out to make sure that she doesn't crash to the back of their teammate. Goes a bit wide, does both of the Mercedes, just like George Russell and Lewis Hamilton in real life this year. But then Mrs. P has managed to hold out the position and stay ahead of the Williams, which is going to be frustrating for the Williams driver. And it looks like the Williams driver just got a little bit unsettled with how far out they all went. There's the yellow flag at the back. What has happened? James Killer looks like he's just not having a good time. Looks like he's overheated his tyres and he's just spinning everywhere off the dry line, and unfortunately it's not where he wants to be. He needs to be careful of those drivers behind to make sure not to crash into them, but he has managed to keep the car in a straight line somehow with all that sliding around. I wasn't expecting him to do it. As there we go, DD Friend has called it, and he has called it to go into the pits now and change something. Has he changing his wing, or is he changing to the intermediate tyres? We'll actually go on board with the tyres now to see if he changes it. Then we have Mrs. P, who is Willie Fernandez has already dropped back from Big Gaming. Big Gaming is going to love that. He's going to see that he's pulling away a little bit from those two that were battling him behind. If Willie Fernandez is seeing the pace right now, then I would assume that he thinks he needs to just pull out the way, because Mrs. P is showing some incredible pace in the wet, and he does. He pulls out the way of Mrs. P and slots back in. That's a smart move from Willie Fernandez. And Mrs. P is now to P8, and she's going to try and chase after the Red Bull again. But Cowley is not having that. He tries to stick it around the outside, has a little bit of a slide through. But unfortunately for Willie Fernandez, that means he has a little bit of a cutback. He's having a little look up the inside. He is trying to make a move here to make sure he gets past and chases after the Mrs. P. And that right now, unfortunately, does not find the move past. But you're still behind, close enough going into Madigan and Beckett's to mean that for the final straight, he could be able to get this move done. He just has to keep it through here. Willie Fernandez is finding a lot of grip through Madigan and Beckett's now, and is on the back of his teammate. But unfortunately, looks like Cowley's sick of it. He is done with the Mercedes being in front of him. He goes have a look at the inside, tries to brake as late as possible, but unfortunately Willie Fernandez has kept the move, and some people are looking for the pits. These four drivers have not. Is DD Friend already catching? It looks like he's catching by a lot on those drivers ahead of him. And could it be time for the intermediate tyres? It looks like the weather has dried up a lot. And Cowley trying to look for a move there. Unfortunately, got ride the curb a bit too much there and couldn't get the move done. That might have damaged his floor, but he's just got to be careful. He might be getting frustrated, but he's just got to calm down a little bit to start getting this move done. Mrs. P has managed to catch up the Big Game just by a bit. And now, look at the front though. These two drivers, Warner and Jack, are just pacing away on the wet tyres. Shazam has no answer back, but neither do any of the other drivers. They're not showing the pace that they need to show. James Killer is into the pits. He is now on the intermediates. I presume he's onto the intermediates anyways. Could anybody had called it earlier? And yes, there goes the intermediates on the Ferrari. DD Friend has pulled off a nice strategy here potentially to be able to catch up to those ahead of him and get past any of those that he was trying to battle. The two Aston Martins are pretty close, getting closer together there. The two teammates trying their best to bring it up for the Aston. A lot of teammates are close to each other right now, especially these two, the two Mercedes. Willie Fernandez is defending for Mrs. P and trying to get the point. Cowley's just having slides through Maggins and Beckett. He's not finding the grip that he needs to find. But there go Warner, another fastest lap. That means the track is definitely drying. And if anybody is going to call it now, they could call it for the Inters and maybe get an undercut if they think they have the grip for it. Doug is unfortunately losing position to Ziggy and has lost the position going into Maggots and Beckett's. And Priv Widget is the first one to call it. And what's happened there? Mrs. P is also calling it. She wants the pits now. People are on the intermediate. They are going for the intermediate for the rest of this race potentially, or maybe they might be on a two-stop strategy now because of the tyre wear that potentially may be happening on these drivers. Is anybody else going to call it? Cowley is on the back of these couple of drivers. He does not want to call it yet, as he wants to just try and chase away at these two. Does anybody else call it? Looks like, yes, Dougie is the next one to call it. We'll have to keep an eye on the times of those behind to see if they start gaining already. As Dee Friend now sets the fastest lap. That is confirmation for everyone. Intermediates are faster, and they are finally going to have to get going here soon. Yes, here we go. Sorry, I did show the tyres now. Yeah, they're all in as now. Pesci, sorry for not showing tyres. I was just waiting for someone to pit. And now, looks like Willie Fernandez is now under pressure. He's had a little bit of a mistake, and Cowley is right on the back of him. But unfortunately, Willie Fernandez has got the straight line speed to defend, but he goes too wide there, goes off the racing line, and goes wide. Looks like Cowley is finally going to get the move done, and gets past the Mercedes finally. So now he's up into P7, now chasing after the Red Bull as best as possible, trying to defend from the Mercedes behind, not making too many mistakes hopefully, but the Mercedes is right on the back of him. But he's not able to do anything as of this moment. Who is going to pit next? There we go. Jack calls it. Jack is the next one into the pit lane. People are starting to call now. Cowley gets a 3-second time penalty for track limit. Unfortunately, well, now he calls it. And the Mercedes is going for a move into the pits. And that's a bit dangerous there from Willie Fernandez. Barges Cowley away a bit out the way there, and is into the pits, but that is going to have to be looked at after. I thought that was a little bit dangerous there from Willie Fernandez. You could see that some contact maybe had happened, but has Mrs. P pulled off the undercut on her teammate and on Cowley. This is what we're going to have a look at now, as they are both into the pits. Priv Widget is on the intermediates. Has Mrs. P done it? She is ahead of Cowley. She's ahead of Willie Fernandez. How far ahead is she? She's really far ahead, and that is a good call from Mrs. P. She's got good distance between herself and her teammate and the Williams driver, but Cowley is not going to be having any of that. He's going to now try and make some moves. Dee Friend has managed to gain on those positions though, and it's up to P10 on the intermediate tidy. Is not even halfway through this race yet, and it's already going the way for some people and not for others. It is going to be a final interesting race. James Killer gets a 3-second time penalty, and unfortunately that is going to be another 3 seconds within this race. Not as many track limits, as unfortunately Pops Kong has a bit of a slide, and that means that Cinder's behind was a little bit taken out, but Pop Kong lets him past, does not make the move hard for him, and there you go, backs out and lets Cinder's pass. I don't think he would have done that on purpose, but that will have to be seen later on. As now into the pits goes Warrener. This is what we want to see though. Has 50 Cent done anything to be able to gain? Jack has managed to gain on those around him. Let's see then. Is he gained on Warrener? He might have gained some time. It looks like Warrener's coming out the pits now. Has he gained enough time? It does not look like it. And unfortunately for Jack, that undercut has not worked off as well as he wanted. And he is now going to be chasing after, although he might have the speed on the intermediates. That is something we'll have to keep an eye out for. Willie Fernandez is on the back of Dee Friend though. He's found this pace in the intermediates, but gets a 3 seconds for track limits there. And unfortunately, them wearing tyres are not going to be helping the Alpines. There's been a little bit of a spin in the background from James Killer, I believe. It looks like he keeps not having it in Maggots and Beckett. Who's into the pits now? Was it Pops Kong? Yes, it is. He's going into the pits now once them 80 meters and speeds into the pit lane. Obviously, Britain is a slow pit lane, and he was just going too fast, even though it looked like he was going pretty slow. And it's just 10 seconds to Pops Kong, who he may have to pit again. It's not going well for the Williams driver within this race. We are now 11 laps into the British Grand Prix, and people have started to settle in now. Safety car is out though, and that has absolutely worked a dream for those like Shazam, Beaky and 50 Jet, who are now going onto new intermediate tyres under this safety car, and now people can obviously start saving fuel. And Shazam, even though it looked like he was going slow enough, gets 10 seconds for speeding into the pit lane. Priv Widget gets a drive-through for speeding under the safety car. Could not slow it down enough to be able to keep it within the safety car delta, and unfortunately that means that he has now got a drive-through that he has to serve after the safety car has finished and is now into the pits. For those like Bakey Gaming that are licking their lips with the intermediates now starting to work out for them as they are into the pits, getting a free pit stop out of that, and those behind may be a little bit frustrated because they're obviously on older worn tyres. It is unfortunate for them, but looks like everybody is now onto the intermediates. But you know what that means? Jack is now right on the back of Warrener with some tyres, and he also gets a driving through penalty for speeding under the safety car. It looks like it's catching out a lot of people there, unfortunately, and a few people are now also pitting for new intermediates. Wilco, DD Friend, the likes of those Priv Widget as well. They're all onto new intermediate and want the new tyres. Cowley is now back up to P8. Willie Fernandez back in P7. Miss P doing well for herself in P6 behind the debutant of Ivy. The two RBs have managed to find themselves in P3 and P4 after being how many positions down in P12 and P8, so that is good position for them. A lot of these drivers are not finding the positions they want. Cinders is down 10 places, and unfortunately for him that means that he is just down too far and needs to start making his way back up. We are now halfway through this race, and it is an interesting one, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, my apologies, I was just taking a quick drink there. Finally get to rest my voice, as this has been a one hell of a race so far. Matthias saying, now, how is William being beaten by Mrs. P? Matthias, they are your teammates. I wouldn't question it, because you might be cursing them right now. But it is a good showing from Mrs. P, coming back from not racing. Is Mr. P secretly in that car? We'll have to see. No, but who is into the pit? Shazam. 10-second penalty, ignoring yellow flags, and I think that's because he was going into the pit lane to serve his 10 seconds and gets 10 seconds for ignoring yellow flags. He now has 20 seconds of penalties, but potentially he might get taken that off at the end because of how this game works. We'll have to see on that one. I think he should just stay out with that 10 seconds and just make sure that, because that is an unfortunate penalty right now. Matthias says if it was Mr. B, it would be in the wall. Fair enough. But that is unfortunate for the RB. That is not what you want to be seeing. But look at all these penalties. 10 seconds, drive through, 6, 3, 3. A lot of penalties right now. But he needs to just be careful now. Make sure it is... Who do you think it is? It's Parkour, obviously, Matthias. God, I felt like nobody else sounded like me. Can you not tell by this amazing commentary right now? Jesus. No, but now we have the safety car as other people are again into the pits. And we'll stay on board with the tyres now, as a lot of the tyres are someone... I can't recognise voices. Well, that's very hurtful, Matthias, to say that. That's very hurtful. But Ivy up to P4 on his debut. That is a very good showing from the McLaren, and the McLaren team are going to be very happy with that showing right now. The team that's not going to be happy is Mercedes with this driver here, Willie Fernandez. He doesn't have pressure behind because he does not have 3 seconds of penalties, but Bakey Gaming was showing incredible pace and now has new tyres on. And now he is going to have to try and chase after it again as James Killer has decided to retire, and it looks like he retired in the pits, but it just got him out of the pits at the end, but maybe have to have a little look at that one, but it did say he retired, and it looked like it was in the pits. Is the safety car in this lap? No, it is going one more lap, so we're going to have 12 laps of racing left, and then we're going to be getting underway. This has saved some people on behind though with their time penalties. and that means that some people are going to be able to be trying to build gaps. Some people are going to be now under pressure because of the time penalties. As Shazam is pitting again for that 10 seconds penalties. I would have said he shouldn't have pitted because of how BS. I feel like that was a bit BS, but maybe that's part of the game. But he's decided to serve it honourably and is now going to be starting pretty much almost at the back. And is going to have to try and make his way through. The RB, though, might be able to do it. He's shown some good pace around here. So can he get back and save something in this race? He's got no more penalties now to serve. So this could be it. Anyways, this should be the final lap of safety car. Looking at the dry line, I'd be looking at soft soon, especially Suzanne. You think with this? No, I would say with how much rain there is left, I'd feel like it would get to lap 22 and then maybe. And you okay there, Doug? You okay there, Dougie? I just going a bit offline there. Under safety car, but at least he's just trying to chase it after. But the safety car should be in this lap. And it could be very interesting as everybody is obviously all bunched together again. As Ziggy is just taking it slow, trying not to slide out. Dougie's like, come on, get on with it. We need to catch up the safety car, but they have caught up. Just make sure not to go too fast to crash into each other, please. Thank you so much. And now, this should be it. Our final lap of safety car going on to lap 15. This is going to get interesting. If you don't mind me, I'm going to have a quick biscuit because I need to snack on something. Because this race has been outstanding and has made me actually... there you go. Safety car is in this lap. Let's bunch up the field and see how it gets going. And there we go, I've snacked on my biscuit and I am ready to go again. 12 laps of this race. Warner is now leading the way. He's taking it nice and just pace wise through these last couple of corners. And there he goes now, but Jack is right on the back of him. A couple of other drivers might have been caught out by how quick that safety car might have restarted. Like Cowley is on the back of Willie Fernandez. Willie Fernandez did not look like he had the best getaway there. As we have others behind, Bakey Gaming is right on the back of Priv Widget and is trying to look to make the positions back on those ahead. Willie Fernandez is lost out to his teammate, Mrs. P. Mrs. P is right on the back of Ivy. However, there's another safety... Wait, no, sorry. I thought it was another safety car. My apologies, it's just because of the stupid game, putting it in the top left. Now we have Ivy losing out positions to 5th gen, already losing a little bit of pace to Jack. Jack is staying on the back of Warner, but Warner looks like he's already trying to pull away from the Haas driver. Cowley is right on the back of Willie Fernandez, trying to look for a move for P6, but he's got to be mindful of those behind him, as obviously those don't have time penalties, are going to be looking to put them under pressure, as he has a bit of a slide through Cops. That is not what he's wanting, but he has kept it on the back of the Mercedes car and has kept it in a straight line. Now let's see, through Maggins and Beckers, goes a little bit over the line there, and unfortunately has meant he's lost out a little bit of time to the Mercedes driver. Let's see, is there any moves going on the back? Red Bull of Biggie Gimmin trying to have a look at Priv Widget, does not get any of the moves done, as Cowley is right on the back of Willie Fernandez there. Thought he was going for a move there, but does not. He just keeps it behind. Are there any moves going back? Doug makes a move on Pops Kong, goes around the outside. Does he keep it on track though? Pops Kong tried to come back. Oh, a little bit of contact there. Biggie Gimmin has left the session. What has happened there? Big Gimmin is going to have to try and get back in. I think I might have him. Priv Widget is into the pits. I wonder why he's into the pits already for that. DD Friend trying to make some positions on the Aston Martin. Can somebody try and get Big Gimmin back in this race as quick as possible, please? One of the stewards. That would be great. Wilco on the back of Big Gimmin, who is ghosted. They are all going past him now. But the Alpine of DD Friend was trying to have a look on Wilco. Wilco not expecting it. And now Cinders gets past DD Friend. And unfortunately, look at that. Big Gimmin is just dropping back. Someone needs to get him back in. and I am going to have to not try and say that word, but I will probably forget that. Matthias. Here we go then. Is anything else happening? I was about to say again, Ivy putting 50 Gent under pressure. He's battling for the podium now. The McLaren is trying to show that he has some good pace. Goes a little bit wide there, goes off the dry line, and unfortunately tries to come back on and has lost a little bit of time to him now. And now Mrs. P. How is Mrs. P in the battle for the podium? She is chasing after these two ahead and going for P3. Cowley gets another 3-second time penalties, unfortunately, and that's going to put him under a lot of pressure of those behind. Looks like Cinders is trying to go for a move, and he does go for the move. No, he doesn't. He just backs off from the Aston Martin. But he's under pressure behind from TD Friend. Does he have a look up the inside? He breaks late, trying to go for the move. Almost gets it. Alms has a tag with the Aston Martin, but the Aston Martin manages to keep the position and stays ahead. But then he goes for a dive bomb up the inside, but he has kept it clean. Wilco on the inside trying to keep the Aston Martin ahead is on the inside, but the Ferrari manages to stick it around the outside, and that was a good move to see. Then DD Friend is trying to look for a move now, as there's a little bit of a lag there, as I think as Biggie Gaming leaves again, and it looks like he's just having a bit of connection issue within this game, and now I am lagging because every other car just lagged for me. What is going on? Is it because Bakey Gaming left? I'm not sure what's going on. But here we go. We're still on board with DD Friend. On the back of the Aston Martin, he is trying to make something of this move. It's Bakey Gaming has joined again. And it looks like every time he joins and leaves, there are just little lag spikes between all these drivers. Ooh, DD Friend having a little bit of a touch with the Aston Martin. Wilco goes a little bit too wide. And now the Alpine is up the inside going into this next corner. Leaves enough space for him. The enough space that he was warranted, enough car's length going into Cop's corner. Now they go side by side. Aston Martin tried to keep around the outside. They're both on track though, and they're still keeping it side by side, but DD Friend manages to get ahead of the Aston Martin, and up to P9 he goes now, trying to chase it after Cinders, who is on the back of Cowley. The Williams trying to keep his best to keep any positions that he has with that 6 seconds of penalties now. Let's see, as Jack is still on the back of Warner, but still not showing enough pace. He just needs Warner to make one mistake, and then he could be putting him under pressure. Mike went off, so did sound effects. Oh god, is it me? It can't be me, can it? Am I lagging? My apologies if I am lagging. I'm trying my best to make sure it stays. Big Gamon's left again. Unfortunately, he's having too many connection issues and is leaving and joining too many times. Ivy is now still trying to put this RB under pressure. Mrs. P is keeping a good 1.4 with them within 1.4 seconds and is keeping them on their toes. The McLaren trying his best to find a move but cannot find it and has a little bit of slide there. Maybe lost him a little bit of time. Mike went off, so did sound effects. Maybe I just had a little bit of a lag spike with my Wi-Fi at my house. But let's see then, is Ivy going to be able to finish this move? We've got 8 laps to go in this race. It could be anybody's game for this P3. If these two are putting too much pressure on each other, then it might be too much. As Big Gibbons joined back, Iceman then is behind his teammate now. Cowley is losing out too many positions, is down to P11, and might just have to try and stick. He's not liking the wet conditions right now, and is unfortunately just dropping and dropping back. We're showing some good pace, but the wet has kind of screwed him up a bit too much, as Shazam gets a 3-second time penalty trying to come back in this race, as unfortunately all those time penalties have cost him, as now he gets past Popcorn, who just backs out there and lets him through, and now Shazam is chasing after the McLaren of Dougie. People have started to gap each other out now. It looks like there's not too many close positions, as now out on front, Warner has started to pull away from the Haas. And is starting to lead in this race now, like he was in the beginning. So I'm spot on now. Okay, good. So maybe it was me. Maybe my Wi-Fi is just dipping in and out a little bit, as I've had a housemate just come home, so maybe they've just connected and it's messed up a little bit. But the McLaren is still on the back of this RB, putting him under so much pressure for this podium position. Can he do it? William is currently backing up Mrs. P right now and doing a good job defending for her. But Mr. P needs to maybe pick up the pace a little bit, as look, the Ferrari of Cinders is trying to get his P5 back, and is chasing after them right now as best as he can. But look, the McLaren is just so close behind the RB, trying his best to put him under pressure, but he's just not having it. Beaky Gaming has left the session again. Unfortunately, it looks like that's too many times. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to get back in, as the connection issues just seem a bit too much. I think he was fine throughout this race, but I think it might have just been, as Doug gets a 3-second time penalty now. The wets are not doing it for those at the back there, and unfortunately that is costing too much time on them. But here we go, the McLaren is right on the back of the RB. He's 1.5 tenths behind. He's going to go for the move now, up the inside, brakes late enough, gets up the inside of the RB, up side by side. They're going through into this corner, into the final chicane now. They're still keeping it side by side. Is the McLaren going to get it done? To the left and to the right. Now turns to the inside this corner. Unfortunately, the RB has a little bit of slip, and now the McLaren has a little bit of a slide there. It does get the move done, but it means the slide comes 50 gent getting back past the McLaren, and unfortunately Ivy has now lost out again, and now is backed out to P4. But it means that these two drivers are going to be pressuring each other for this podium position. But look at this, Mrs. P, because of the battling that's going on up ahead, is starting to slowly catch. 1.4 seconds, was down to 1.2 at one point, but she is catching those ahead, and might be challenging, as Wilco gets a 3-second time penalty, unfortunately. And all these drivers at the back now are all challenging each other for positions, as Cowley's into the pit. He wants new tyres, and wants to be on the new tyres without degradation, to be able to have more grip. And now here we go, Ivy still trying to put the RB under pressure, but they're both just slipping and sliding a bit too much. Maybe that's onto the tyre wear, but look, he was now within 1 second of these drivers. She has kept it consistent, and that has worked out well for her. The Mercedes of Mrs. P is going to be challenging for P4 and maybe P3 if these two keep battling like they were. But going through Maggins and Beckett's now, the McLaren is trying his best to get past the RB, but the RB is just pulling out a bit too much right now for the McLaren to handle. But the McLaren looks like he has great straight line speed, and gets onto the wall. Maybe his tyres are overheating a little bit. Maybe it's getting a little bit too dry for the intermediate tyres now. Could anybody, I think with the amount of rain, I don't think dries will work at this point. But if the rain starts to slow down already, or if there's another safety car, maybe somebody might think of the intermediates. And look how slidey they are through that final corner, going up to the finish line, and that is something that they've got to be wary of. And dropping back a little bit is Ivy, but he is not much he can do, as Priv Widget makes his way past Doug, going through the back corner. And I'm pretty sure, let me have a look at time penalties actually. Because there we go, they're both battling, they're all battling there, as they all have 3 seconds of penalties to deal with. And now they've just got to be battling with each other. Even Privilege hops over the curve a bit and has a slide, and that has allowed Douglas to get past him and back up to P12 to now put those ahead under pressure again. But can they chase after those ahead? Can they work together? As here we go, Ivy is still on the back of the RB, but is dropping back. Look, 610s have the tyres side given up with all that sliding. Have the tyres began to say no, we are done, and that may be screwing over the McLaren currently. But look, he is gaining through Maggins and Beckett. It looks like the RB is just not having enough grip through them corners to be able to pull out any gap from the McLaren of Ivy. I have a shot every time I say the McLaren or Ivy in this race so far. But here we go then, 22 laps into this race. Well, 21 laps actually. Oh yeah, 22 laps, I was just those ahead. 22 laps into this race, 4 laps to go. This could be anybody's game for the podium positions. But look, he's putting the Mercedes under pressure. That is an interesting move, but he's made it stick. Look at Cinders go up into P6, now chasing after Mrs. P for P5. That was a hell of a move to see from the Ferrari. Had one tyre on there, but kept it in and kept it on the road, and that was a brilliant move to see from him. We will have a look. The position changes. He is now back up to P6. He's now chasing Mrs. P with 4 laps to go for that P5. Can he get it done? As Cowley gets another 3-second time penalty, and unfortunately now has 9 seconds of time penalties. As the time penalties are going to be screwing people up. We also have to keep an eye on this DD friend on the back of Willie Fernandez. Not on the back of him, but is trying to get within 3 seconds of him, and is now going to try and put him under pressure. But look at this. Ivy still on the back, is trying so hard to get so close to the RB, but he's just not getting close enough. Can he get close enough through Maggins and Beckett? It looks like the RB is just going too wide through these corners to be able to get enough grip. And now the McLaren is right on the back of him again. 2.5 tenths. Is he going to use any ERS? No. It looks like 50 Gent is just using a little bit of ERS to defend, but now he is under pressure again. And if they do any battling, then potentially Mrs. P could come back into it. This is what we like to see through UFRL racing. Everybody else has had gaps go out. Priv Widget though back there is making a move on Douglas, but they also have Wilco in front. It is now 3 wide on the last straight and goes ahead, Priv Widget, but then Douglas goes around the outside. Does he keep it stick? It looks like he stuck it through and is back up into P11. Does anybody have a look at the inside? Wilco, oh, looks like Wilco just broke too late, and unfortunately they had a collision there and Wilco's dropped down to P13. Hopefully there was no damage there, but it looks like he just went in way too deep and collided with the McLaren. But now this is the McLaren we are wanting to see, the battle that we are wanting throughout this race. Looks like 50 Gent goes a bit too deep there, and the McLaren is just sniffing, looking up the inside, trying to see if there's a move there. Does he get the grip? He has a little bit of grip, but does the RB see him? Unfortunately for Ivy, the McLaren is not able to get enough traction going out that corner and stays behind. Jack Mao though gets a 3-second time penalty, although it's not going to matter in the end because these are too far behind. But look at the McLaren trying to have a look around the outside, tries to stick it in but backs out a little bit, just trying to put the RB under pressure, saying I'm here. 3 laps to go, and they are trying their best to battle it out. A bit too wide for the McLaren there, has a little bit of a snap, and now has let the RB go a little bit and has got to try and chase him back down within these last few laps. But they have started to settle in. But look at this, Willie Fernandez is 2.5 tenths behind Cinders. You think he's trying to help out his teammate, but his teammate Mrs. P is still pulling away from Cinders, as Cinders doesn't look like he has the pace on Mrs. Poem right now. Douglas is currently behind Priv Widget and has unfortunately lost out too much time on him, and is at the back, and is just trying to conserve now, but he might be able to reel him in a little bit, but without that slipstream, Ivy looks like he's just putting a bit too much into it now, as unfortunately he's dropping back way too much. But if 50 Gent makes any more mistakes, he might still have a chance to grab this podium off of the RB. My apologies, trying to think of what the word was there. 50 Gent, DD Friend though is now the one pressuring the Mercedes of Willie Fernandez now, and is putting him under so much pressure to grab this position. He is within that 3 seconds though, so he has technically got the position, but I think he's going to try and want to get on track and maybe just have to Cinders in these last couple of laps. But there we go. Ivy now within 1 second again, trying to just chase back, maybe going for a last lap overtake potentially, just to save some ERS or something, to get something done on this RB. But he is using his track limits well, but he has a little bit of slide through there again. Maybe he needs to just stop pushing it so hard through Maggins and Beckett and just take it a bit smoother to be able to get on the back of the RB. D-Friend has dropped back from Willie Fernandez. It looks like he was just having a little bit of slip slide and could not make the move done. Douglas is back on the back of Priv Widget, and is trying to chase after the Alpine for P11 in this race. Oh, it's been a good Silverstone race so far. We have 2 laps to go. We are on the penultimate lap of this race, and it looks like Warner has just managed to keep it consistent and pull out a win Another win for the Kick-Sauber team. This driver is just doing so much right now for that team and is bringing up their points tally, maybe putting some pressure on those ahead, especially with how some of the other teams are performing in some of the other tiers and this race. But I will not say as much more. But look at this McLaren trying his best, and he does have a little bit more grip there, and he is starting to reel him back in. Could be trying to go for a last lap overtake, has a little bit of a slide through there. Tyres maybe potentially giving out for the McLaren, but he is trying to put him under so much pressure right now to get 50 Gent to buckle. But buckle, he won't. 50 Gent is putting in a nice performance right now to keep him where he is. How many positions? He's up 9 positions to go from P12 to battling for a podium. That is what he's wanting to see, race in and race out. Now, Ivy is still trying to just keep it going into this last lap. Onto the last lap we go then, and he is within 5/10. The McLaren could get it done. He just has to stay on the back of the RB as close as possible within 4/10, and now it could be going for a last lap overtake going into the last lap. It has started and the pressure is on for the podium. Let's see what's going to happen going into this last lap. We're obviously going to go on board with Warrener later on to obviously see him finish lap, but this is the battle that we are wanting to see. Is he going to get it done? Here we go. The McLaren going through the first sector is trying to close up, is unfortunately is lost a little bit of a time there, but is still trying to gain as best he can, trying to take the better lines, and he's still on the back of the RB, trying the widest line possible to be able to gain as much time as possible on him. And now he's got to try and put him under more pressure going through these final couple corners. Unfortunately, the RB goes a bit deep again, and he keeps going deep there, but I think it's working out for him. But no, unfortunately not, as look how close the McLaren's getting, going on the narrow line, has managed to stick to the dry line this time, and is on the back of him going into Cops. He's using his ERS, trying to go for a move. Will the RB defend? It looks like he's not going to go for the move this time round, and the RB managed to stay ahead. Unfortunately, has a little bit of a snap, does Ivy, and then McLaren has dropped back. Is he going to be able to get it? Going through these final Magnus of Beckett and onto the final straight, he needs to get some... he needs to gain some time on him there, but we'll go on board with Warrener. We will come back straight away, but here we go. Warrener going across the line for your British Grand Prix, has won another race for the Kick-Saubers and gets the win for the British Grand Prix in Tier 3. But look at this McLaren. Ivy is putting him under so much pressure. The RB tries to defend as hard as possible. Ivy is trying to look for a move, maybe goes for the switchback. Goes a bit deep, does the RB, tries to look on the inside, but Ivy could not find the move, and looks like RB of 5th Gen, as long as he doesn't slide out, does get the podium, and the McLaren comes home P4. But what a debut from Ivy there, well done. Mrs. P coming home in P5 from P10, that's a good race from her. Cinders in P6, D-Friend P7, with Willie Fernandez in P8 there. Iceman in P9, come from P18, Shazam in P10, Privilege in P11, pending penalties, obviously the time penalties I mean, and obviously these positions contain with other penalties. Doug going slowly, has he not got enough fuel? It looks like Doug has run out of fuel going up to the line, and manages to get across the line there. Wilco comes home in P13. Pops Kong and Cowley, the two Williams, driving very, very close together, finishing together, and it's finishing on P14 and 15. Singleton is not having a good debut. There's look, he just goes across wide, and unfortunately the wet has screwed him over today. Comes on P16. Bakey Gaming as well. Unfortunately, them disconnections made him finish in P17 when he was battling for P6 up ahead, and James Killer comes home at P18. But what a race that was. Well done to everyone. Thank you for all the debutants coming to this race. I hope you all have enjoyed. Make sure everybody gets their clips in. But that was a hell of a race, Tier 3, as driver of the day says Cinders. But thank you all so much for joining us. We will obviously be watching the final. Here we go, the podium. There is Warrener winning the race for the Kick-Saubers again, putting on so much for them. And it comes home with the trophy there. And fastest lap goes to Jack, just manages to take it by 2/10. and that has been a good race. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed. We'll also have a look at Race Director, just look at all these incidents there. Few collisions at the start, but obviously there was a lot of collisions happening throughout this race with how wet it was, and there we go. And now, thank you all so much for joining us, and I hope to see you all next time and next week for the which Grand Prix is it actually? I'll have a look later. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next